All right, let's move on to that gun bill, which as it stands right now does not have the campus carry the way it originally was, but with the reduced fine. Guns now in bars, churches, and some government buildings.
And in most government buildings. First of all, I would take issue with you on the campus carry. I think this bill has a very, very big back door to allow campus carry. It decriminalizes it. The fine that it would be imposed on somebody with a concealed weapons permit carrying on a public campus would be up to 100. That means it could be 10 bucks, 20 bucks. So I think that's still a hot issue that's likely to be aired out in your chamber, I think.
Probably so. I think the discussion will continue, whether it be campus carry, government buildings, or otherwise, between what level of comfort we have where places that are not secure. We're not talking about secured facilities. That's sort of always been understood to be an area where if you go through the metal detector, it's a security, they can exclude firearms from those venues. In all of these other venues, I think common sense tells us there really are probably firearms there today.
But Senator, again, this appears to me at least to be a bill which outside of the Capitol has a good deal of opposition. There are a lot of people out in the community who worry about proliferation of weapons. But once again, in the Capitol, there doesn't seem to be, while there are little fights over carry in some places, this is going to go through with Democratic and Republican support, is it not?
Well, it was interesting to me that it was a Republican in the Rules Committee today that brought up the concept that property rights were being violated by this bill, because if you own private property and you want to restrict that area as a no-gun zone, could you do that with this bill? And Wendell Willard brought that up in the Rules Committee.
Right, and I think this is, I think where this, right now where the opposition is starting to gel here is with the Georgia Municipal Association, the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. They would be required to open all their buildings, including nursing facilities, daycare facilities, libraries, any government-owned building that doesn't have full-time security. They would be required to open those to concealed weapons permits.
What's that going to do to the bill as it goes forward?
I think there's going to be an opposition. I think Jim has identified probably those key groups that will be at the front of that discussion. And I think that you will probably have some conversations around, I mean, when you talk about a daycare facility or those sorts of things, if it's run by a local government or it's a public building, I think you will have some conversation around where that leads. At the end of the day, I do think, to your earlier point, Bill, Georgia is a pro Second Amendment, a pro carry state. And so while there are some groups out there who have opposition, I do also believe that most Georgians understand that in most of these places that aren't secured, there are already Georgians carrying. It's just that they're not doing so with the permission of the law.
Let me float a question that's a little bit off point, but with everything that's going on in Florida right now with their stand your ground law, and Georgia has a stand your ground law, I'm just curious as to whether or not there's some concern among folks down at the legislature that our stand your ground law may come under further scrutiny because of what's going on in other places.
Well, there's been a bill in the Senate where
Vincent Ford
has introduced to get rid of the stand your ground.
And I got to say, it's got no chance of passing.
Right, has no choice. But I'm asking, is there some thought or concern?
I think for the most part, Georgia's what's called the Stand Your Ground law is really harmonized with what the state of Georgia law was before. My candid assessment is somebody who's looked at this, and we had it in committee, Senator Fort's bill. Most of the language that's already in Georgia code before Stand Your Ground ever got there really covers all of these scenarios that we're talking about that we see in other states. So I don't really know that changing that provision would really change the state of the law all that much.